Hi, in this video I'm going to show you part 2 of how to clean the intake manifold. It's quite a messy job, so you're going to want to wear gloves. I'm not going to get all the names of the parts right, so that doesn't really matter. It's going to show you how to get to the manifold off and how to clean it. So let's get into it. So in part 1, I showed you how to remove all this gear. I'm going to go ahead and remove it now. So if you want to see how to remove it, watch part 1. And go. Now that that's removed, we're going to proceed to the rest of the intake clean. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with taking the engine cover, if you have one, and the rubber that's underneath it. So I'm going to now go ahead and remove that. You've got to undo these knobs, or whatever the equivalent is on your particular car. Once they're removed, you're able to remove this rubber cover. The reason why is you've got to move lines, and this is going to be the easiest way to do it. The next thing you need to do is remove from fuel lines. So I've got these two here that I'm going to be removing. I've already lost a clip, so I know which one goes on which, but I'll be marking which one goes where, so that way you don't get them confused. Also, this is the way that I do my intake clean. You might adapt a different way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these fuel lines. Now that I've removed these fuel lines, I'm just going to pull them under so they're out of the way. And unclip them. I'm now doing the fuel line at the back. So I've just disconnected that. Sorry, so I've just disconnected that. Now this group of fuel lines is out of the way. So as you can see, they maintain their shape, so they're easy enough to go back to know where they go. Also, make sure you take photos of where things go, so that way you know where they go back to. So to be able to remove the manifold, we've got to take out the EGR valve, and that's this unit here. So I'm going to be disconnecting this plug. I'll be disconnecting this plug, and there's 4 torque screws that I have to come out, and I'll put down what torque screws they are. They're a little bit hard to get to. I'm going to put the camera down for this one, but I'll show you once it's removed, because there's a bolt up in here that you need to get to, and you can't get to it with this here. Sorry, it's underneath, but you can't get to it while this is here, so you've got to remove this. Another precaution when doing this is be careful that the motor's not hot, because you could burn yourself. So just make sure the engine's nice and cool before you start doing this. So now there's a whole bunch of M10 bolts. I'll see if I can show you some. Right. Sorry, it's really hard to see. There's one there, and they're at diagonals. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these all out. And then when I've got it all out, I'll show you the bolts so that way you can see where they are. It'll be easier to see that way. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these bolts with a 10mm socket and a ratchet. You might find that the tools that you have will work for you. If not, you might need to find a tool that does work for you. Now this is what I think one of the hardest parts is. Now I've undone all the bolts. I've got to try and remove the manifold. This is the way that I do it. There's probably an easier way, but it's the way that I've found. So yes, it's a bad angle for the camera, but it's sort of the angle that I need to do, because this area here is the bit that's going to get snagged on. So let's see how easy or hard it is, because we've got to be careful of this fuel line. We've got to try and work it around this fuel line. So it's a little bit of manipulation, but we'll see how difficult or hard it is. So you can move the EGR pipe to be able to get this where you need to be. So you want to pull it back a little bit. Watch out for the clips. And I'm just moving the fuel line around. You can see I'm slowly getting it out. So I'll change the angle. So what I did was I slid it back. Snag now. Slid it back. I moved the fuel line over the top, and then I pulled it out. And that's the manifold off. So you can see there where all the entry points are. Clean them out with a lint-free rag. And you'll be able to, yeah, just wipe them out, give them a quick clean, or clean them however you think that you want to clean them. So this is the manifold now that it's off. You can see that there is 11 bolts. This is where the arrows are pointing. And the bolts are captured. What this means is they won't come out. If we flip it over, there's these rubber gaskets. So I'm just going to take mine out. I don't need to replace mine. You may need to replace yours. And I'm going to give it a clean. When cleaning the manifold, you can clean it with a toothbrush or another method that you choose. You can use a solvent if you choose. I've cleaned mine recently, so I don't need to. But this is the process to removing it. There's also an O-ring on this side here that you can remove and clean, and you've got easy access to the inners of it. So you can get a rag through there or a brush or whatever you choose. What I'm going to do mine is give mine another quick clean, and then I'm going to start to show you the reassembly process. Alright, what we're going to do now is put the manifold back in. So I'm going to slide it to the back first. And then I'm going to pull this fuel line over the top and try and wiggle it down. Once again, this is a dirty job. I had to take the gloves off because of filming. But we'll try and get it in. Like I said, it's very awkward. Alright, so now I'm slowly starting to get it into place. It took me a little bit. So the reason why I'm filming this is to show that it's not an easy job to get it back to where it is. You might be able to fluke it first go. Sorry, just readjusting the camera. All right, what you want to do now is line it up to where the bolts need to go. All right, once you got it lined up, what you want to do is go ahead and do the bolts up finger tight. Make sure that all the bolts are done to finger tightness before you actually tighten them up. So that way you know they're all located. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Now I've put the manifold back on. I did the bolts all up finger tight and then I tightened them all up so they're all tensioned correctly. I'm now going to go ahead and put the EGR valve back in. So please watch. All right, now that that's all tight, I'm going to plug it back in. The next step is to put the fuel lines back in. You make sure they're the correct orientation, and that way the right lines go to the right place. Now the fuel lines are all back on, what you can do is you can put the cover back on the engine. So I'm going to go do that now. Now I've got the cover on, I'm going to proceed to reinstall the first part of the intake up to the throttle body. If this video helped you, give it a like. Make sure you comment down the bottom how you went with your clean. Keep watching for the next video.